Welcome back to the origin story of dogs, and y'all, this is where dog breeding really starts popping off. As major empires began to flourish, warfare and conquest brought on a new shocking role for our canine companions, the war dog. By building upon large livestock guardian dogs bred to deter predators, war dogs were beefed up and specialized for human wars, with Molossian and Mastiff type breeds favored by the Greeks, Romans, Celts, and Assyrians for conquering territories, pulling carts, and guarding military bases. Modern descendants include many varieties of Mastiff, Cane Corsos, and Rottweilers, as well as Great Danes, which are created as a cross between Mastiffs and Sighthounds and specialized to hunt boars. It's important to note that while some of these breeds were once selected for aggression, modern breeding has significantly softened their temperaments. Many Mastiff-type dogs were interbred or selectively bred into more peaceful roles, like the St. Bernard, originally developed from Alpine Mastiffs from mountain rescue, or the Newfoundland, which was developed into a gentle giant used for water rescue and hauling gear. Over time, breeders began crossing large Mastiff-type dogs with scent-driven hunting dogs, especially in Rome and later in medieval Europe, with long drooping ears and loose skin to collect scent particles, as well as large nasal cavities for supercharged sniffing. The scent hound archetype was born, specialized to track and trail game. These were the ancestor breeds of bloodhounds, basset hounds, beagles, coonhounds, foxhounds, and many others. And some of these scent hounds were shrunken down and developed to pursue burrowing animals underground, such as dachshunds, as well as another famous group of dogs that were particularly adept at digging, whose name comes from the Latin word terra, meaning earth. If you haven't guessed, I am of course talking about the terriers, an immensely popular archetype that were not only skilled hunters, but also extremely useful for vermin control, with many of them being further specialized as ratting dogs that were progressively miniaturized to control vermin in cities as the world urbanized. Also, quick shout out to cats, who are already performing this job for thousands of years at this point. Comment, by the way, if you're interested in another mini-series on the origin story of cats, which is also super interesting. Anyways, while scent hounds and terriers are useful for hunting land mammals, duck hunters needed dogs that were specialized for the water. By breeding strong swimming dogs with webbed feet and curly resistant coats, the water retriever archetype emerged, the precursor to breeds such as poodles, barbets, and Spanish and Portuguese water dogs. Later, when firearms took off in the early modern period, we see the emergence of the gun dogs. These include spaniels to flush game from dense cover, pointers and setters specialized to point at and retrieve bird game, and water retriever gun dogs, which include Chesapeake Bay retrievers and Nova Scotia duck-tolling retrievers, as well as Labradors and Goldens, which, while initially bred as water dogs, proved especially adaptable, eventually becoming two of the most widely used service dog breeds in the 20th century, which I mentioned to exemplify how many breeds end up being repurposed throughout history, even if they were initially developed for a totally different task. Similarly, we see a lot of historic mixing and matching of breeds to create generalist working dogs, seen for example in all-purpose farm dogs such as Schnauzers and Pinschers, Danish-Swedish farm dogs, and Bernese mountain dogs. Like and follow for part 4, the final part of this mini-series, where we cover the early modern period to present day, including the Victorian era, when dog breeding became an art form, lapdogs became the hot new trend, and kennel clubs began to standardize breeds, vastly changing their appearance.